Hey y'all, it's Melissa at Twin Oaks Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. And we're doing a follow-up on the chicken coop check-in that we uploaded on October 11th, 2023. This is October 13th, 2023. And we're going to talk more about 'tis the season for molting. We did that in that video. We mentioned and showed video of some of our hens that are in our egg production flock who are in molt right now. And so the topic of molt generated some valuable and informative and strong feedback in the comments on that video. So we really wanted to get back in the egg production flock and just do another video really focusing on that. I'm not an expert on chicken molting by any stretch of the imagination, but we have had egg production type flocks for about 2 decades. So over that time, we've noticed some things that are consistent about molting from chicken to chicken, but we've also noticed some individual differences. So wanted to try to do a video and share about 3 things that we've noticed about the chickens themselves as individuals during molt, and some things that we notice in the chicken coop during molt, and some ways that we can try to help our chickens as they go through molt and to come through it as comfortably as possible, because it's a big deal for a chicken, really, and it is a normal thing. So molting is just the normal, we say seasonal, but can more or less say annual. It's generally expected to happen annually, tied in with the seasons as we move into the cooler parts of year. Like here in Southeast Ohio, we definitely have a big change in temperatures from summer into fall and going into winter. So it is, it's related to that when chickens go into molt, but it's also related to other factors. So we'll talk about that some too, what our observations have been. But molting, like I said, it is a big deal. It is basically the birds dropping a bunch of feathers and regrowing new ones. So it kind of puts you in the mind of, if we go back in the chicken's life to when it was a chick and it was all that little fluffy, downy, cute fur ball, which is not fur, I get it, but they're going to feather. But when they're like that and it's just chick fluff, it just looks fluffy and furry. But then the feathers grow in, and so there's a pattern to that, there's an order to that. Well, this is kind of like a repeat of that, except they're a little older and they're dealing with the feathering that they have had and the wear and tear that has happened to the feathering that they've had, and they have an integral interaction with their environment very much through the pineal gland that's in their area of their skull, that interacts with lighting, not only through visual observation of lighting, but their skin interacts with lighting in their environment, and that's all tuned into through that pineal gland. So that is how this molting comes about. So it's like when they were those chicks and they grow those feathers in, except when they're older, it's getting the feathers that have sustained wear and tear dropped and actually growing in new feathers again. So it's going through that same process. It'd be similar if like we dropped our teeth and regrew them every year. So kind of like that. I mean, it's kind of a silly comparison, but it's kind of a good comparison, because it reminds us, there's a little bit of discomfort to it. There's a little bit of painfulness to it. And it's kind of a somber time, like for the chicken to be having to grow in these new feathers. So that kind of reminds us, that generally is going to be happening to our chickens maybe about every year. So let's talk more about it. Before we do that, I had so much wanted to record a video on October 12th, 2023. On October 12th, because October 12th is National Farmers Day. And I'll tell y'all, I actually attempted to record videos on October 12th, and I made multiple attempts at it, and just different things, like interrupted the recording, or I misspoke, or I felt I needed to check something that I said, on and on and on. And ended up, I made several attempts and it stretched into dusk and I ran out of daylight. and I couldn't get it done. So we're trying again on October 13th. But what was important to me about October 12th was it was National Farmers Day, and I really wanted to just through our video do just a tribute and a thank you to any farmers that could be watching. If you're watching our programs, we really appreciate it, because we're learning every day. We're learning every day. We have a lot of experience, but we're always open to realizing that we need to learn more. But to farmers that may be watching, in tribute to having just had National Farmers Day, and in honor of you, from those of us here at Twin Oaks Family Farm, the 5 of us in my household, I want to say thank you. My family farms, but I want to say thank you to all the farmers. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you produce. Thank you for what you sacrifice, and thank you for what you preserve and protect. Farmers sacrifice time, sacrifice their own personal preferences, sacrifice comfort, and farmers preserve a way of life and a set of skills that has the ability to raise, produce, and grow sources of food. And farmers protect our future by living out those skill sets and living out the farming lifestyle and contributing to the agriculture industry. And simply by doing what farmers do, that has the opportunity to be imprinted on younger generations. And that's what I mean when I say thank you for preserving the farming way of life and protecting our future by imprinting the skill sets that do know how to produce and raise and grow food, and hopefully we get that passed on down through younger generations so that that can continue, because that is a need. We need to know how to do things like start a seed, produce some food, raise some livestock, be able to butcher it, process it to some extent for even our own use, and filter water, skill sets that are really ingrained in the agricultural and farming lifestyle. So farmers, thank you. And if any of you viewers in our community, we have an exceptional community of viewers. If you know farmers that you can direct person to person, reach out to with a shout out, a send out of a thank you, we encourage you to do that, because I feel certain that any farmer you know would greatly appreciate just having the work that they do noticed and acknowledged and recognized and appreciated. So tribute to farmers, a day behind, but happy National Farmers Day. And really, those of us that recognize the connection between food sources and farmers and agriculture, every day is National Farmers Day, because without a food source, we're going to get hungry. So, like, I've missed a couple meals today. I'm getting hungry. I'm thinking of those eggs that are in my refrigerator, and I'm thinking of that poultry that's in my freezer, and I'm thinking of the tomatoes that I picked up at the farm market out the road yesterday. So, thank you, farmers. Thank you, farmers. Going to take a look at the flock. Thanks for bearing with me. Our viewers and subscribers here on Twin Oaks Farm Poultry, I appreciate you. My whole family appreciates you. Thank you for your time and effort supporting our channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. And let's take a look at the hens. So getting back to molting, 3 things. I want to tell you 3 things that we've observed in our chickens over the years. Here's 2 that are actually molting. This one is really, really in molt. Is actually starting to come out of molt. This one is definitely coming out of molt, this Americana. She was in molt for a while, but she does not have the side tufts of feathering yet that grow out of her cheeks. This is a great example of a chicken not in molt right here. Here is an example of a chicken that has molted, but it was not a hard molt. So same breed type as this one. This one had a hard molt. That one did not. So some things that we've noticed about about our chickens over the years with molting, that you could see lots and lots of feather loss. one of the things that you will notice in your chickens, as you're seeing these chickens, if you'll notice the comb and the wattles, in most of our chickens, the comb and the wattles are red. This is exactly the chicken I wanted to find. I hope it'll stay there. Of course not. If we can get close enough and kind of follow this hen, this dark gray hen, note that hen's, and it's going to go outside now, but I hope you got to see that hen's comb and wattles is pale and almost kind of shrunken. So you see that in chickens that are molting. They lose that bright red color that is typical of their comb if they naturally have a red comb, and actually the size of the comb will decrease, and we can see that actually on that hen too. The size of the comb has decreased to some extent, and it's not as bright as the other chickens that are not in molt. So you know that, and this one is consistent here too. See how the comb is smaller and paler. So that is really interesting. Now, I don't know, see, we have that black feathered hen. We have two of those that actually have a black comb and a black wattles. I don't know what to expect with them. This black feathered hen happens to have red comb and red wattles, but they're not in molt. So those are a couple of physical things. There she is again. But the lighting there, we can't really see that. But anyway, and that chicken hasn't lost bunches and bunches of feathers. So not really a hard molt. It's what I'd call a soft molt. But we definitely can tell with the paler comb and wattles that she's a molt. And we have seen some of the dark gray feathers on the floor, and she's the only one like that. So those are two physical things. The other thing that I wanted to mention we've seen with our hens, with our chickens throughout the years, if they're molt, is if they're in a relatively sizable flock, like there's 36 chickens in this flock. So, you know, they have to work with each other. I'm sure there's a pecking order. We tend to observe that oftentimes the chickens in molt will sort of, at least when they're really in the depth of molting or in a hard molt, they will sort of distance themselves to some extent from a lot of the flock, or at least from the more physical, aggressive members of the flock. So that's something you might see in a behavior in a chicken that's molting. A couple things in the coop we notice: dropping of feathers. So we do have some of that back toward this back side of our coop. Lots and lots more feathers dropped back here than any time typical. You can also see, oh, and look, there's an egg. I'll have to reach back there with my reacher and get pretty soon, but lots and lots of feathers. We don't typically see that many feathers dropped in here. The other thing you'll notice in your chicken coop, if you have chickens molting, if you offer free choice calcium supplement like oyster shells or repurposed eggshells, most of the time you'll see chickens consume free choice calcium supplement. Chickens in molt probably won't consume free choice calcium supplement because they're in greater need of protein, because feathers are made up almost entirely of protein. And so that is one way you can help chickens that are in molt. Typically laying hens are getting 15 or 16% protein. We can step up their protein to about 20% when they're in molt. We're going to run out of recording time, and we'll talk about molting again in another video because there are a couple other interesting things we'd like to point out about it. But thanks for joining us. Please subscribe to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry, and God bless y'all. We actually have an egg pickup I got to go tend to right now. So thanks so much. We appreciate ya.